Welcome to the Timecode Dead Air podcast. I'm John Wood, and today I have actress extraordinaire. She has been in a million and one things, known very well for Demons as the person who gets stabbed first in the face with the mask and turns into a demon in crazy, awesome transformation scene. Miss Geretta Geretta. She has been the star of many a horror film and a film, a lot of stuff in the Italian industry.
Yep.
And so I usually ask everybody first, because for people who don't know you, how did you get started? What made you get into the industry? Because you have a kind of a cool story from what I have heard, just discussing with you.
How did I get started? Well, I grew up, most people don't realize it, but I actually grew up in Oregon, way before it was like Portlandia. I mean, when I grew up, it was keep it a secret, don't tell anybody. And I'm not kidding. That was on billboards. That was just like everybody knew that. And then, of course, once the word went out, everybody moved there. But I did a semester at Lewis and Clark College. And I don't know, I just didn't feel like I fit in. So I had a pretty decent scholarship. So I went to New York. And that sounds insane, but I've always been an adventurous. And my father had always traveled a lot. And my mom's family comes from Alaska. So the idea that you don't move around never crossed my mind. So at the full-on age, I might have turned 18 on the plane. I graduated from high school at 16. So I was, and then that June, and then that September I was already in college. So probably I was too young for it. But I'm articulate, and here I talk. I sounded like this at 16. And this is a thing I think sometimes with it's with many people, but I would say with girls, if you're articulate, it also passes for she's mature. And I don't think I was ready. But in my 17-year-old mind, I was ready for New York. And so my mom, my mom could see what was going to happen to me in Portland. Like, I'd have a job at the mall or something since I had dropped out of college. And so my parents were supportive. My grandmother put some money in a handbag. My dad had bought me a 1965 Mustang because he wanted me to be cool. And then once he realized I'm not going to be there, he came and got it back. So like everybody knew I was going. It wasn't like I jumped out of a window. And I did know one fellow from church, literally. And I don't even think I really remembered him, but he said, "Oh, I know you from church, and I have a room for rent." Now I'm a veteran New Yorker. I know what that meant. I need half my rent paid. So needless to say, we didn't get along. Probably not even within 6 months. But I was living just blocks away from Broadway. And you really could still go non-equity. That's the theater union, if people don't know. And if you waited in line long enough, you were allowed to audition. And I used to do that all the time. And I used to just think it was exciting just auditioning. And I didn't have any real money. I could always get jobs. I was at that time, the way I spoke, it had no accent. So I could always be a receptionist, or I could always get that kind of job. I did not, and I still do not, although I have been a waitress, had the personality to wait tables. I realize now I probably had some form of post-traumatic
PTSD.
Thank you. So there was no way on this earth that somebody could call my name out loud across the room. That only I had strict parents. That only signified danger to me. But I didn't know all of that. And everybody would say, "Why aren't you waitressing?" And I would go, "There's no way, no way. I'd rather have a 9 to 5." So anyway, I got to New York, and what I'm trying to say is I started auditioning. And my mom said I could stay as long as I was in school, and I always loved fashion design. So I took my college money and I enrolled into FIT. And it never dawned on me. I'll get back to this later about you only know the things that you know. My parents went to night school meaning college, because my parents were, back in the day, they were teenage newlyweds. So somebody had to be home. Do you know it never crossed my mind to be a freshman on campus? It never crossed my mind. I thought that's what you do. I thought you get a job and you go to school at night. So, of course, eventually that didn't work out. So I kept going on these auditions. and I didn't really even have money for headshots or anything like that, but I was just pretty enough. And I'm not saying me. I'm just saying I just had I was from Oregon. There were no black girls. There were no black girls. There are black girls in New York, but in the world I was running around, there was nobody like me. There's still nobody like me. But what I'm saying of this hue, there were like two black girls in most agencies. And I was a little on the short side, but I was just enough to get into modeling agencies. They're not even the best ones, like the smaller ones. And I know what everybody hears and says, and oh, this happens, that happens. Well, no, it doesn't. Not to everybody. It really doesn't. And I knew Portland, listen, Portland, it's called Portland for a reason. I mean, Portland had a very not PC reputation. Portland was a tough place. So we call it trafficking now, but anything like that,
Mm.
honey, I'd already heard it. Grown men used to come down because high schools weren't locked and walk the halls of the high school and talk some girl into something. Or probably a boy too, but I didn't know about that then. But you know what I mean? So it's like when something, I remember sitting on the stoop in Hell's Kitchen, and some guy went by and he kind of looked at me and he was like, "Oh, hey," and then I mean he went longer than this, but the gist of it was, "Oh, do you like men? Do you like money?" And I'm telling you, I thought, that's good. You think you're trafficking me with that ass line? I heard better in high school. So, like, I'm just saying that, I was a bit prepared to be able to be in New York on my own. I have a really strong work ethic. I was lucky that I was the type of brown person they would hire. And so I just kept doing those auditions. I wasn't very good for a very, very long time, but I did a lot of off Broadway. I was in a comedy group. The first film I ever did was Smithereens, which is actually, post punk. And they
Yeah.
saw myself, and my acting partner was Roma Mafia, the actress, and they saw us in a theater play at Theater for the New City, which is totally renowned and everybody knows of it. Yeah, so I just kept going and going. I don't think I got a lot better, but I would get calls. I did a lot of extra work too that people don't know about. I was in some movies with. I remember. People I remember too that passed away. But I remember Chris Christopherson kind of looking at me. I was in a movie that Jane Fonda was in. I was in something that came from China. They said, "Oh, he's the biggest thing in China," and I'm pretty sure it's Jackie Chan. I'm pretty sure it was
Oh
a
wow.
young Jackie Chan, and they were trying to prove that they had shot in the United States. Like a lot of times, like people don't know, but people will come and do a location, one location in the budget in the
Right.
States. So, and then double number two, what would prove it that it was in the States? A black girl. So I remember it was a comedian, and he did something really funny, and then I did something really funny, and to this day, I think it was him. Couldn't vouch for it, but eventually I went to Herbert Bergdorf, and it was the coldest winter ever, so I kind of dropped out. And I just kept doing a lot of theater. And then I met Italians that were around the Italian consulate somehow. And
Hmm.
it was actually, it was a party for, that's me tapping the foot, sorry, I won't do that again, the noise. I went to a John Lennon's second wife, I think, was it May Ping? Had a book out about her life with John Lennon. He was still alive, of course, at that time. And I went to that party, and I'm just kind of still country bumpkin. Like, I don't get social cues. So the woman that's the famous person with the book, and all the paparazzi are out there. Well, I heard music. I thought it meant dance. I was like dancing too. Like, oh my God. And later I got told off about it. But a person that has a big company in Italy for appliances, they booked me. And I got 2 weeks in Venice in the Daniele Hotel to to do these ads for refrigerators and stuff like that. And that's how I got to Italy. And I was there for 2 weeks, and I made lifelong friends. And I said, "Oh, I really like this. I really like this." And in the meantime, I had done fashion design um, at FIT, and I came out and I got backed for a small cosmetic line because that was at the time
Wow.
where private label was like a big deal. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I got a lot of write ups and Women's Wear Daily and like all of the things, and then I just keep saying to myself, I want to get back to Italy. So my mom used to always say, if you want to travel, like, people write me and meaning like on the socials, and then they'll go, well, not everybody can just go to Europe, or like, not everybody can just do it. And I'm like, honey, I went with no money and a couple of sandwiches. But my mom had always told me, she said, look, you can go wherever you want as long as you're attached to a school. And she said the best way you do is go, because then, there was no internet. Go to the library, look up schools that will offer room and board for whatever it is you're looking for. And I did that. And out of 100 of them, and then back then you had to write or send a telegram. I don't even think there was faxes yet. And two, I applied to the Australian, I don't know, Creative People Fund. I can't think of it right now. And then I applied to Italy, Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia, which is their major, major, major film school. And I did 2 parts of the application, long distance. And then I did the third part, which you get in, there in Italy. But I didn't get accepted. Nobody told me you had to speak fluent Italian.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah. So they told me, and people have heard this on the internet before, but so they told me, look, keep working on your Italian and come back in September, because that's when we'll have the new, the new term. And by the time September came, oh my God, I had met everybody and I already knew everybody. I don't think I had quite an agent yet, but I was just about to get one. And I don't think that first year I did Rats, but I was doing things. Actually, I was doing things for the Rai, because I knew somebody at the Rai, and that's the Italian national television.
Gotcha.
And I had, I participated in a couple things on television. So that, that's how it began. And originally, the first few years, when the Italians have I keep looking to the side. That's how your brain goes to look at something. You're going to have to cut all that out. I'm sorry. I'll stay right here, everybody. But when the Ferragosto, so when Italy closes down for their month of holidays, the first few years, I still went back home to New York. And then after a while, I just said to myself, I live in Italy. So I stopped doing that. So anyway, that's how I got to Italy.
So we had done a Q&A before, and you had mentioned that you were in a kind of like was it a teen TV series going on, and that's kind of how you got into Demons?
No, by the time I did Demons, so Demons is like, I don't know, 86, 87, because you do it 1 year and then it takes them a year. So whatever they say on the back of the box. But by the time I did Demons, like, they called me, like, I was known. I was telling you the story, like, fresh off the boat. So to clear that up, yes, while I was doing Demons, I was doing the Italian version of Saturday Night Live. So it was live sketch comedy with filmed gags and sight gags, whoever was the most popular musical guest at the time, and 2 guys that were really, really famous for music. And like MTV had just come out, and so it was like it was a hot thing. And I didn't even realize it. That was going to be, I thought that was going to be my big break, that television series. And in the daytime, I was filming Demons. So I was doing Demons in the daytime in Rome, and then being driven, limo. That's why I don't know how to drive, John. I ain't never drove, baby. This is a side to everybody. Whenever John and his whole team, they try to do something with me, I always promise, I'm right there, I'm driving over. I don't even know how to go over a bump. I mean, as the story goes, so I was in Oregon, I caught you up to New York, and then I was in Rome.
Yeah.
Explain to me in my life when I ever really drove. Like, I buy cars, but I don't really drive.
And I get it. And that's the thing, is that, like, because that was fascinating, because I had never known that, as far as that you were doing the sketch comedy thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, how did you go to that? I mean, you had done the theater, things like that. So
I said it so quickly and so briefly, but I did sketch comedy live. We were called Rusty Nails. Now here's some trivia for you. Young Frankenstein, the famous actor with the googly eyes, he and the other actor, that guy's name, he was so old, he had actually come from burlesque. His name was Rusty Blitz. The two gravediggers. Rusty Blitz it made a theater company. The same way as Kids in the Hall, or the Groundlings, all of that. And I was in that for like a year in New York.
Interesting.
Yeah, so improving lines and comedy. And at that time, because I'm a writer now, but at that time I'm a good at setup, but I wasn't the punchline girl. But I was very, very good at the setup. And we were like about 12 of us, and we did it like for a year on 12, yeah, on 40, like 42nd between 12th and 11th Avenue. And then eventually we just all kind of went away. But he was always saying, this is going to be a big deal. This could really be a big deal. And now, like everybody who came out of something was in those. So to me, it was no big deal. And that's exactly when I auditioned. It was called Non necessariamente, which means not necessarily the 6 o'clock news. Because remember, Saturday Night Live was not necessarily ready for prime time. It was between the
Right.
British one too. So Italy had one, Britain had one, and America had one. So they were like, "Can you improv? Can you make up stuff?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah." They go, "Are you sure?" And they did it. They did it right there on set. So that's how. So remember all those years. Do you know what we used to get paid to do off Broadway? By the time you start getting paid, it's $50.
Yeah.
It's $50, and the shows were only Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, or sometimes um, Saturday and Sunday. But you would do two shows. Oh, here's something I never think about. You want to hear this?
Mhm.
So the last show I did was at Theater for the New City, and it was called Midnight Spoon, Midnight Moon at the Greasy Spoon, and that's where I met Roma Mafia, and the New York Times wrote us up by
Nice.
name for my performance. So I might seem wackadoo now, but once upon a time, and that's my first write up, and even then they only use my first name.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah.
And I guess that's one of the things to kind of get straightened out. So I have you as Geretta Geretta on there. This is
Geretta,
in
if you can.
Jarrett.
Geretta.
I know. Sorry, I wasn't
That's all
sure.
right. You can just go
Uh,
G. G.
well, and so you adopted that much later
I
on.
didn't
Start
adopt
just using
shit,
Geretta
yo.
Geretta.
My name,
They just
no, my name is Geretta Marie. That's my name.
gotcha.
That's my name. However, I think what people think is, if you keep asking me questions, I'm gonna be jumping around in the timeline. We're never gonna get out of here. So in the '90s, I went to Northern Ireland to be a filmmaker because I saw 5 movies in a row that were all low budget. And I was always doing shorts and stuff like that. And eventually I did go to and complete the screenwriting program at the American Film Institute. So, I'm saying stuff, but I'm not like saying stuff without some backup. Okay. I really did do stuff. So anyway, I went to Ireland, and no one could say my name.
Oh,
So
okay.
and I'm used to this, and it's a bit of it. Like now, I make a joke about it, and so if I don't feel like going into the whole detail, but I say, what's your name, Geretta? What, Geretta? So everyone in Ireland, because they're smart like that, they realized they were saying it twice. So the Irish film director, Brendan Byrne, he said, "Ah, screw that with your long name too. From now on, you're Geretta Geretta." And that's how. So I had a little summer TV program that I produced and wrote and appeared on camera, and it was called Geretta Geretta looks at. And I would go and just interview people and talk about things that would be interesting to an American.
Interesting.
And it aired there, and I got some nice money for it. Um, it wasn't hard journalism. And remember, this is like '90s. This is before the Good Friday talks. This is like '90s in Northern Ireland. The concept of just casual, like afternoon chat kind of funny thing. Everybody was like, "Yeah, really? You want to do that?" So I got the deal and I did it and it aired. And it was like 6 or 7 episodes. I'm really saying a thing. So then my name legally, because you have to be unionized and all that, went to Geretta Geretta. And it's a really good one. And no one wants to say my whole name. And I get tired of having to explain it all the time. So then I lived in Europe so long that when I came back, like my passports had all these different names on it. And then I got pulled over in New York because I had a law, because I lived in Switzerland too. I directed a movie in Switzerland, so I lived in Switzerland. Anyway, long story short, and this is before even the current situation, they were like, huh? What? What? And the government put it on my passport. That's it. That's my name. And I can fly with it, and I have
Wow.
everything with it, and I'm totally, when you go through the fast line, yeah, because my credits are that. But when I first got started, these Italians are not even only Italians, because I'm calling you out, David Worth, on Warrior of the Lost World that I did with Fred Williamson, and people would just change your name. I mean, that's very common here. And I have a sad story because I thought everybody knew that. And I just had this problem with this friend. She was a really good friend of mine. I said, oh, we'll just change your name. But she misunderstood what I meant, and something else happened. So it's just a sad story. But I grew up with that, meaning growing up through the industry. Nobody wants a name. And Geretta, by the way, isn't Italian. It's old. It's antique Swiss German. There's whole towns named that. There's whole rivers named that. But it looks Italian on the marquee. So my
Gotcha.
name got changed to anything and everything. I don't even know all the movies I did because I can't always Google them.
That's
I
wild.
know, right?
So for Italy, you're there. Did you get cast first? Because Rats was the first one you did as far as the horror genre, or did you do something else before that you can recall?
Well, that I can recall. What am I, a Hyundai?
No, I can't remember.
Oh, okay,
Jesus
well,
Christ.
you can recall. I recall
Yeah,
everything.
there
So
you
I
go.
did a bunch of, these things won't mean anything to you, but this stuff goes all around the world. I did a TV thing, a comedy thing with Lando Buzzanca, which is a big name in Italy. Did a bunch of comedies, but my first job that I did, now this I did within a couple of weeks, and it's Texas Gladiators
Oh yeah.
2020. And so I'm the black girl that gets shot, and I have on the little tiny
R-
skirt and all of that. So that was like a. It's not actually an extra because extra in Italy has another word, but it wasn't with lines. It wasn't with lines. I didn't have an agent, so I didn't get in top billing or anything. But that was the first thing I did, and I mention it all the time, so most people know. But Daniele, what is his last name? Anyway, the director of the church. The
Okay.
horror movie, The Church. I don't know why
Yes.
his name's going out of my mind right now. We'll put it down on the thing. He was the third AD. So at the time that I'm an
Okay.
extra, he's third assistant director on that
Gotcha.
movie. And so by the time he's first assistant director to Lamberto, and also at the same time assistant to Dario, that's on Demons, and that's like at least 5 or 6 years later.
You were. I just realized you were talking about Joe D'Amato, right? For
No, everybody.
as
So
far as
people always say Joe D'Amato, but there were two directors on it. Yeah, there were two different directors, and the segments I did was with not D'Amato, but I know D'Amato, but and his real name, but yeah, it was the other guy. And he had a real, the storyline really does make sense. And it really is everything. Sorry, I'm going to keep leaning into my computer. Yeah, oh, the lighting's better. And everything that we predicted in all those sci-fi movies, it all came true and is coming true. So anyway, back to your question. What else did you do before you did horror? Well, I've done more, I've done more post-apocalyptic and sci-fi than I've done horror. I'm just mostly known for horror.
so the Texas Gladiators, and then because it's also one of those things where when it was done compared to when it came out is also a different thing. Because
Oh yeah,
because
but they come out all the time. Ha!
right.
They come, every time it goes to a new region, they can say first time. So they come out all the time. But you're in film, I'm in film. You don't make this. Well, we do an indie, but it takes a couple of years to finish a film, and then it has to be sold, and then the theaters wait. Like in Europe, people do not go to the cinema in droves in the summer. Why would you? You go to the beach.
Gotcha.
And when I still lived in Italy full time, the air conditioners didn't have the air conditioners. Hello, the cinemas, the cinema, didn't have air conditioning. So you wouldn't go in the summer. And when you watch those old Italian movies, and the people are out in the piazza watching it on a big screen, which would be their version of a drive-in, that's why. There is no tradition. So you know how we had the summer blockbuster because it's
Yeah.
so hot here. When people didn't commonly have air conditioning, the cinema did. 30s and 40s.
Gotcha.
That's how the tradition got started because people were so hot in their house, you'd go to the movies. And back then, also, the movies were a babysitter because, I guess I'm sure there's always been pervs, but they weren't the way they are right now. You could leave your kids. My parents used to drop us off and say, watch it a couple times. We'll be back at 7.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
anyway,
remember you.
yeah. So,
Oh, just to answer Michelle, right? Michelle Sovi or Sovi? It's like
Michele Suave.
okay, there you go.
God, I said Daniele. Cut that. Michele Suave, yeah, he was only, and now he's a director of his own,
Yeah.
of his
Oh,
own
yeah.
right. So anyway, what I'm trying to say with that is the progression. If you
Yeah.
stick in this game long enough, and if you don't get in it to be famous, if you want to be famous, A, be a stand-up comedian if you got those chops, or number 2, do television. Do television. It's easier to get into, especially with a certain look, or if you're a character actor, it's actually easier to work in television, even though it's not called television anymore. Y'all know what I mean. Streaming shows, Netflix or whatever. It's because they need characters, because usually there's only 1 or 2, beauty leads, let's say. We just call it beauty heads. It's got no gender. But, there's only 1 or 2. But there's the receptionist, the person driving the car, the other person, the person that runs the real estate agency, the cop. And then that's easier. That's easier to
So
get in.
and so you kind of started with that, and then you wound up with the sketch comedy stuff. So you already had quite a name at that point in time, right?
I didn't. Here's how it goes. So I only mentioned 2 movies, but I did. Oh my God, I did about 5. So there's Warrior of the Lost World. There's Texas Gladiatore. There's Domino that nobody knows about. There's another one called The Kiss or The Love or something that I did. Then there's a director called Cristallini that passed away, and I'm in that. I think I'm just on the beach. There's a movie with Frank Yablans. They just need, what's his name? The guy that used to make all the noises and all the sounds, Michael.
Oh Christ,
Yeah,
I
I play his
can't.
girlfriend in that. So
Oh
yeah,
really?
so 2 guys go to prison, and I don't know. They're running. So one African American fellow and a non-African American fellow. They're in prison and they're running the stock market from the prison. And I play his girlfriend in that, and that's called Buy and Sell. Get it? BUYCELL. So a bunch of, yeah,
Brilliant.
I did all of those. And here's the other thing, sweetheart. I did theater. I did theater in Italy.
Gotcha.
I might have been more known for that. And I was on some very important talk shows. And I wouldn't say I wrote it, but I put together the book of a musical in Rome with the all-woman cast, and it was music, and it's called Songs of My Mama, but it was very political because Rome was getting a little bit racist, and I was on a
Mm.
Maurizio Costanza's show that people know about, and that's like a political show, and it sometimes has pretty girls on it, but I was on there as somebody that had just done this play. How unusual is that? So I didn't realize it because I asked Lamberto probably 2 years ago, like, how did you guys find me? How did you ever heard of me? And he looked at me like in Italian when they want to say, are you nuts? They say, Mashema. He said, everybody knew about you. Of course, not with my American accent, but he said, we all knew about you. Oh, and I forgot I did Murder Rock. This is
Yeah.
all before Demons.
Oh,
Fellini called me at
then that's
home to be in Città delle Donne, and they needed a girl to sing, and I had too much respect to just, how all these actors always say, oh, just say you can do it and then show up. I don't have that kind of guts. I said on the phone, oh my God, I would love it, but I can't because I don't really sing. I said, can I lip sing? He goes, no, just this one time we really want her to sing. So a woman that I know that had been in my musical named Crystal White, she got to do it, but God,
oh
I should
wow.
have just lied because they would have made it
Yeah.
work.
You basically worked with every major Italian director in that period of time.
Unless I'm
That
mistaken, because there'll be somebody that had some sort of career that I don't know about. But until I don't know, within the last decade, I am the only living person Yeah, and I have the record because Bruno has passed. So I am the only one that worked with the top five. You know how when you go to Africa, they go, "Have you seen the top five? Did you see a giraffe, an elephant, or this or that?" So I have, and I don't mean top five like that, but I mean in
Yeah.
Italian genre of that time in the 80s, sci-fi and horror. I have Argento. Let me just put my hand here. I have on Argento. I have Bava. I have Fulci. I have Eastman. I work with D'Amato on something else I don't even remember, and Bruno Mattei. So I added an extra in there, but I just with Bruno Mattei, I'm the only person that did all five. And Fulci's
Whenever you're
gone, and Bruno's
right.
gone, so it can't be redone.
Well, and so do you? I mean, I say this because a lot of times, whenever you're like in the here and now, you don't realize what you're doing. Like I did a movie that wound up winning Best Picture. When we were doing it, we knew
Special.
it was going to be something.
Hmm.
Just and there was two that were down here that, but two were nominated. One of them won. You know that you're doing something special. Do you realize whenever you're doing that that you're doing something like that, that you're working with people that are not just their legendary status? Yeah, I didn't see. That's the thing.
No, but I can tell
That's
you other people would, or other
right.
people would know. But again, I've come to realize, and it's part of my whole thing, and people forgive me, but I think I'm born. I don't get social cues, not really.
Hmm.
Shoot, I'd be married, honey. Somebody could even say, "Well, you married me." What? Sandwich? Like, I, don't- I don't get social cues. So, no, not really. I no. And the movies that I thought, like, but on the other hand, so I'm gonna wind this back a little bit because I like to laugh and joke, and people always think I'm just a doll, but I actually have real thoughts and real opinions. No, I think I'm also optimistic, and
Hmm.
basically, I don't have anything too horrible that ever happened to me, so I'm very optimistic. And everything I'm in, and also, please, everyone that's listening to this, try to remember, I'm from an epic that anything could hit. It isn't, oh, it's got to be this big name person. First of all, in Italy, the big names were the Italian names, so I'm not up against them. And there are names, if you don't have them, you can't get money. But they were, to produce the film. But it wasn't that. And any, especially in indie world too, anything could be a festival darling. So every time we went to work, we were like, "This is the one. This is the one. This is the
Hmm.
one." I'm telling you, I thought Ratch was going to be the biggest movie I ever did, and I'm a lead in it. So I was like, "Oh, yeah." Couldn't speak a word of Italian, by the way. Didn't speak a lick of Italian.
And that's leads into one of the questions I had was how is that filming? Because I use Demons as an example because I just watched it recently.
Demons, I spoke Italian.
You did, and
Yeah, I was
but
fluent by then.
yes, well, but you still had to go back and dub. So, like, how is that on set filming? I mean, y'all had to be speaking multiple different languages while filming different movies, right?
Well, only the people who are. So, first of all, so presa directa, that means direct sound.
Mm,
So if you're, and listen, for horror movies and everything else, everything costs so much. Don't shoot it in live sound.
mm,
Everybody's faster. Everybody's way faster. Them setups are faster. So in Italy, they don't do it. They don't shoot the whole movie in live sound. There'll be a track for the languages because of course that's easier to sync. You
oh,
don't
okay.
call everybody in just to say the doctor will see you now. I mean, nah. So that's dubbed, but in Europe in general, rarely can one company or even one country finance the whole film, so they're co-productions. So each
Mm,
country needs the name that'll make the people in their country put butts in seats. So
gotcha.
France puts in, I don't know, 250,000. Oh, they're going to be two Frenchies. Germany puts in 250. There's going to be some Germans. They want the American look. So there's going to be somebody that can speak English to somebody because for the American audience, Americans still, it's not like we like subtitles and we think dubbing is funny. So you have to have someone, you have to have somebody on the crew and somebody that can deal with the two people that speak English. So when we're filming, sorry everybody, I have long answers. I lived a long life.
No, it's great.
Deal
It's
with
great.
it. So when you're filming, his question was, how do you do it on set? In case you got lost. So each person does their, excuse me, each person does their part in their native tongue in the
And
scene.
yeah. So I mean, but how is that? Is that's got to be kind of difficult if you don't know what, like you're just kind of going assuming that the person's saying the line that they're supposed to be if you're acting opposite
Well,
them.
well, first of all, we're professionals. We all have the same script, so we know what they're saying. And actually, apart from being kind of catty and joking, you can tell. You don't have, I don't know,
Hmm.
maybe it's just being Europe, living in Europe so long. You can tell what someone's saying without knowing the whole words, and you know what the story is. And then someone will say something, and you can tell if it's a question, but they're acting with you, you know? They're acting with you. You're in the scene together. So if I go, buongiorno, come stai? The scene says she walks up to the boy and she asks him how he is. And then the other person in English will go, because they'll see the other person stop talking, they'll go, oh, I'm fine. How are you? And it goes like that. It goes like that.
That's
Everyone says their thing. Now in Rats, everybody in that was from a different country. Only two of us, yeah, only two of us were Americans. So that's myself and Cindy, the blonde, and myself, obviously. And most Europeans, but not all the Italians, definitely have some English, but they wouldn't be able to do it without an accent. So no one ever said their line back to me in English, but when we're having coffee or eating or something, the French people can speak English. Hello. The Russian girl can speak English. She spoke 5 languages, by the way. The one with the long hair on the back of the motorcycle. Jean Christophe, the sexy one. The girl with the rat that comes out of her mouth. That
yeah.
scene. He's French. He speaks French, Italian, English, and probably some other stuff. I just saw him 2 years ago at a convention in Canada. Hi, Jean Christophe. Um, so yeah, that's how it is. It isn't complicated at all, actually.
Well, because I'm just picturing it from a production standpoint, which also goes back to what you're saying with not live sound. Because, like, if you're a script supervisor or something, you're just making sure each person does that. So you need to picture yourself in different languges, making sure you speak everything. So it just seems like it could get a little tricky. But I
No,
mean,
but
that
think
makes
about
sense
it.
if you,
First of all, I'll just do Italy, but same as in America, not everyone speaks the same pattern. We've got
oh
a New
yeah, I
Yorker,
gotcha.
we've got Southern, we've got whatever this is from Oregon. If you have a Canadian and an American in the same scene, somebody has to switch over. Brits do it. Brits do it perfectly.
Hmm.
They can all do an American accent and they all can do their British accent. But more to production, answer you production wise, your average script, okay, let's do this. If you've worked your way up and you do films that are also in English, you probably are trilingual at least.
Hmm.
And people can have more than one script supervisor. And then your average actor, they're going to go through and do due diligence and write down, even with the dictionary, what does it sound like? What's the word I need to know that they got to the end where I said amour. So
Right.
it's not like we just show up, we're having a coffee, and we're just like, you know. And that's a little thing I want to address. This is an aside, but everyone around the world, we to promote films, actors do have to be charming when you see them talking, and they're always laughing, and they always tell the jokes and pranks that they did on set. But we don't make it up. We don't make up the lines. They're written. And usually you just do your work and then you say your lines. You have 4 or 5 hours that you don't do anything else. And then you come
Hmm.
back. So, like, nobody's really cracking it up because everybody just wants to go home at a certain point, and they are very long days. Doesn't mean we don't have fun, but I just wanted to break the idea that even my brother, the first time he saw a script, he's like, "You had to read all that?" I'm like, "Yeah." and the camera directions and the light and remember what I'm supposed to feel like. And he was surprised. He literally thought, because so many comedians said, "Oh, we ad libbed that." Now the rest of us didn't. Especially the rest of us trying to move our way up. We're on script and we're off book. That means you know all your lines by heart before you get there. Think about that.
That's awesome that you say that, because that is something that kills me here, because we'll be on a production and we want to go home, but a lot of people are living in hotels or just doing whatever, and so they just like, oh no, we're having fun, we're on. It's like, but we want to, we're doing this. We please let us go. So it's good to know that there are actors out there that get it, that they want to go home.
Well, here's the
Like,
best thing ever. You can get away with that until you can't. And let me tell you, you do not want to be on $1 million picture or $100 million picture, and everybody's waiting on you. That somebody gave you the benefit. The benefit. You're standing in front of De Niro or whoever you want to name, even a TV show, and you don't know your lines. Let me tell you, if you get to work again, you will never make that mistake again. There's nothing like that, because you can hear a pin drop when you drop a line. That's what it's called. And it isn't, oh, we'll pick it up in pickups. Probably they'll. I've been cut out. Ha! I've been. Ha! I was in. I forgot to tell you this one. I'm in Rent-A-Cop with
okay.
Liza Minnelli, um, Burt Reynolds, and Dionne Warwick were the leads, and a very, very famous Italian actor. And I just think I knew my lines, but my interpretation wasn't what the director, and it's a really famous director, wasn't what the director wanted. I got cut. That was embarrassing. Had all my family from America go to see that movie, and they said, "We saw it 3 times. We can't find you." And then I saw him at a red carpet, and I said, and he went, "Oh, we had time problems." But I knew from his face I wasn't that good. Rent-A-Cop, I'm in that, or wasn't it?
And to a point that you made before, because we've talked about this, a lot of times with the European films and people like the crew, a lot of times they have to have specific like capabilities. Like, so that's if you're trilingual. One of the things also is that they are probably the best shooters as far as like filming goes, because they're used to working with film and the lighting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that is kind of one of those things that I think it's overlooked a lot of times, is just how impressive a lot of those crews are whenever you're working in Europe. And I mean, you've done it decades in Italy, and I think that you probably have run across that many, many times of how talented they are.
Well, I'll tell you this. Here's the exercise for everyone, especially like when you're streaming something and it's with somebody famous. Watch the first time you see them. They're usually shot awful. And and nowadays, people are forgetting, because I can remember when everything first got digitalized, and people were like, whoa, 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 because it shows every pore, everything. I'm telling you, start watching the first scene, and I don't mean like old movies, I mean like new movies. The first scene of somebody, her or his close up, it's usually awful. And then they don't pretty them up a little bit. It's not the actor, it's the lighting. Because especially now, red or whatever, it's like that was not made to beautify you. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that European films, and I'm not talking about like Guy Ritchie or something like that, but they weren't action driven before. So it really was the look. It really was pretty. It really was about the face. So it's the lighting. We have close up in a Italian, talking about crew. They have 3 different terms for close up, maybe 4 or 5, because they have not, they don't even say full shot, but they have medium, and then they have close up, and then they have primo piano, which is this, and then they have one called all'americano, which is just this. Okay? Usually here, if you can eat, and they will give, and also I would say this in Europe, they're a little bit more open, or maybe everybody's got an uncle, that help get them in, but they give everybody a chance. Everybody gets lit. Everybody has pretty makeup, and I'll tell you why. Because it has happened so many times that the other person is the one that got famous. So there's not now comparsa, that's different. So an extra, you can have lines, But comparsa is the American version of extra. You're way out there, you're way, way out in the scenes. So, like, I was an extra, let's say, for Americans in Texas Gladiators, but that would not be an extra in America. That's recognizable, and you can get in the union because I'm totally in my scenes. And actually, I'm in the movie more than I thought. But what I wanted to say is about the lighting, about the makeup. Oh my God, they're all experts. And also, here's the other thing that's really cute, because I worked in Hollywood too, and Hollywood's like this, or at least it used to be, because people pass away. But it's generational. So somebody was a makeup artist, his daughter or his son, they're going to be it. Somebody was camera or crew, they're going to be it. And in Italy, it's definitely like that. You have people that are when I got to Rome, dude, we're talking about the 80s, right? There were people that were talking about, oh yeah, we remember all those Black Americans that came over for Cleopatra. Think about it. Remember the scenes in the beginning with Elizabeth Taylor and the black folk? They were Americans. And a bunch of them stayed. So it's like, it's so generational. So also, we talk about my horror movies, but I'm in another movie that I'm very proud of, and it's called The Good King Dagobert, which is Dagobert in English, and it's got everybody super, and I mean everybody super, super famous in it. And I have a special scene where I dance for the entire, I think 14th century royal court, and with a live python. Yes, I did do that live, and that is directed by Dino Risi, like Dino Risi, y'all, and it's a specialized part because I'm just the dancer, but I have lots of close-ups, all the cameras on me. Full handmade wig made to my head. I can go to Italy and do a movie now, and they will find my shoes, my stuff, everything. Everything. And I was not a big player. I was going to have a lot of close-ups. Full wig, it's like that all the time. In Demons, they had to redo my hair every single day. They had to wash all that out of my hair because I had to go to a television set. They kept all my clothes so it would match. You can't respot that up. And nowadays, the way everybody looks at horror deeply, like, those nails were done every single day. Every single day. And I don't have a mask. Those veins were painted on by hand, like with the eyeliner brush. I only shot 15 minutes a day.
Jesus.
Hair and makeup was 10 to 12.
That's crazy.
And no prosthetics, nothing. So the hair, because now enough people know I can tell y'all. So the hair is yogurt, creepy yogurt. The blow up face, don't just say it to everybody, but the blow up face is food coloring. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm not gonna say how it got up there. And we have, Italians, of course, they have squibs and all that kind of stuff. So, that kind of thing happens. But they're patches, and it's all. So anyway, a slight aside. So I am a filmmaker, and I know how to do everything in camera. Like, I know all of that because that's how I grew up. Now, when it comes to editing, I'm boss bitch. I can digital up some shit. But yeah, I know how to do all of that stuff. Because look who I worked with.
Right.
Look who I worked with. I can talk. It happened to me. I can talk some girl that's not even a professional dancer into dancing with a live python because it happened to me.
And that's kind of, I guess, why I was asking about the directors. Like, whenever you're working with them, like, even if you don't know in the time, you still probably have learned a tremendous amount from working with them, right?
Oh, a tremendous amount from working with them. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, there's a lot of people like me, they're not paying attention to that. But I was coming from film already.
Right.
I was coming from theater. Since I'm 11 years old, I always intended to be a writer. I just didn't know, I never heard of screenwriting. Like, you can't be something you never heard of. And then and here's another thing. How I became professional is I got into the Italian Writers Union. Two well-known, whose names I can't remember right now. Two well-known Italian writers wanted to do a sitcom, and Italy had no tradition of sitcoms. And they saw my then resume that had all my New York stuff on it. I got hired. I got into the union, And these were professional writers. I'm still like, I'm still like a kid in a way. Um, and they taught me how you do it as a profession, not how you do it. And then remember, I go on to, go to AFI for really screenwriting learning, but how you learn to write as a profession. They said it's a 9 to 5 job, even in Italian. You do it dalle 9 alle 5, and you stop at 1, you have a lunch, and then you get back to it. And you work every day, and that's how you do it. And I was like, huh, what? And then they said to me, well, you'd go work for somebody else, like in a store or something, 9 to 5. Why wouldn't you work like that for yourself? And I have that ability. I haven't been writing for a while, but I have that. And I learned, now I wake up even earlier because my body clock is very early. But yeah, treat it like a 9 to 5, and you will get there.
Fascinating. And
So anyway, that was a little bit about learning from people. So
yeah.
two writers that saw me on not necessarily the 6 o'clock news taught me how to write. When I'm as an actress, I'm seeing how people are putting the makeup on. I'm seeing what a wig can do. I'm seeing, nobody said, well, I never heard we'll fix it in post. Doesn't exist. There's no more money anyway. There's no more money. And everybody knows, wink, wink, nobody wants to talk about it. The producers get paid up front because you can't guarantee butts and seats. So when you hear how much even American movies cost, because everybody gets paid. Now, if it's a blockbuster, that's the gravy. But everybody gets paid up front. The actors get paid too, right? It's not like, oh, well, you know what? If this is big, then you get a check. No, we get paid too. And in Italy, you get paid by the week. You know why? Now, things have changed. Everybody, I don't want any hating. No hating from Italy. This is all back in the day. But, people used to run off with the money.
Yeah.
So you might have money that first week. There's no guarantee. So anyway, here's another. Anyway, I'm changing topic. So we used to say this to Italy all the time. Oh, you're working on a movie, right? You're in a film, and then the saying was, well, how do you know if it's a real movie? And somebody would say, well, I showed up to work. Nah, it's a real movie when you showed up to work and you had lunch on the second day. Then okay, this might really happen.
That's wild. So you did do Italy, but then eventually you wound up back here going to AFI. How did that kind of transition so that you started focusing more on the directing and writing, stuff like that?
Because I'm egotistical and have a bad attitude. So all my friends, everybody that I'm working, remember, I'm talking about, all my friends that we moved up the food chain, Michele and everybody else. So a friend of mine, a British friend of mine, had just gotten a directing gig. Now I did theater. I was always doing shorts. I was always making storyboards. I always had a script. I was always running. People would hire me for script advisor for the English. I'm in the industry, right? I'm not booking much. I'm in the industry. And so a friend of mine got like 6 episodes for the Rye as director. And I said to him, well, how did you get that? And he looked at me and he went, my nickname used to be Jana. And he went, Jana, but I did go to a film school. And I said, what was the name of it? And he said, the American Film Institute. 9 months later, I was gone.
Funny.
Because I always wanted to direct. And I always wanted to write. And, imagine, I think I look, if you guys find me somewhat still attractive, okay. Now, times that by 1,000,000 when I was only like 25 and I'm running around telling people I want to direct. Yeah, right. You better get your butt in front of this camera. There was no way. There was no way. Sexism, whatever. But there was just no way. Nobody ever took me seriously. But I was always pitching scripts, running around. I would go to Cannes. I tried everything. So my ego just said, well, if that's what it has to do, I'm going to apply. It never dawned on me I wouldn't get in. But I did. But that's how. So I left Italy, and I left at the perfect time because they changed the laws about how foreigners could work. And it was unfair, but we used to get paid a lot, but that was back in the day when you had to fly one of us in, and we were only there for a week, and so it was extra money. I have a house back home. I immigrated. I got all my papers, everything, but not everybody can afford that, and not everyone is top billing. So, it makes sense. So, yeah, so then I did LA. And then in LA, I had, before I even got to AFI, my best friend and I of the time, we had two scripts that were like hotter than a firecracker. And
Mm.
we made short after short to try to raise the money. It's called When Fish Fly. I was shortlisted twice at Sundance, went to the whole Sundance thing, and it just never found a home. But I was able to live in Los Angeles pretty much for 10 years on development deals, or somebody wanted the script. Da, 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 da. We had two scripts that were just hot. One was a comedy and the other one was a coming of age story. And it was just in that middle. Is it a kid's movie or is it about something more creepy? And it was about something creepy, but my personal thing is, and remember, I'm coming from a generation where even the soap operas always had a rape scene in it because writers were lazy. Oh, we don't know what to do. Let's just, let's have some woman attacked. And so I'm just adamantly against it. And then also, I knew I could probably never do that. Like, I would never be probably convincing. I just wouldn't be any good at it. And I don't have any romantic scenes either because I was just like, that's one thing I never learned in off-Broadway. Like, you know, I don't know how you do a stage kiss. So I was avoiding them like the plague. Because I tried to do one with video in Rats, and evidently I just was so horrible, probably all messy or something. And he went, "Eh," and then after that I was like, okay, no more kissing scenes for Retta.
So you're back in LA and you go into AFI.
Yeah.
So you did a couple of movies. Was that after you finished AFI that you went and did Sweetie Cakes and the Others?
Sweetie, so yeah, yes. So I go. So remember Belfast? So I
Mm-hmm.
graduate from AFI and then I go to Belfast for 2 years. And in Belfast is where I wrote the screenplay Sweetie Cakes.
Okay.
And I was and in the Republic of Ireland, in Dublin, I did a summer writing seminar with two New York University well-known, whose names I don't remember, but well-known screenwriting teachers, and so they helped polish it up. And so then this is kind of how, when I said I had my own TV show, I did two shorts with an Irish actress named Majel McLaughlin, who had
Hmm.
just come off when the American Academy Awards used to show best short films. Like, you get to see a little bit of it. And she was an Irish actress in a short film that got nominated for Best Oscar, and we turned out to be best friends. So I did two shorts with her in it, loosely based on Sweetie Cakes, because one of them, Sweetie Cakes, shit, no, I'm sorry, not Sweetie Cakes, When Fish Fly. Sorry,
Hmm.
loosely based on When Fish Fly, because there is a did it happen, did it not happen, young
Gotcha.
girl, older person scene. So it was in Belfast. We shot. We didn't even shoot Super 16 back then. We shot 16. I from living in LA, I knew how to use a Super 8 camera because I wanted to make it look like the child's memory. Like, so I did two of those, right? So Italy, get an attitude, go to LA, go to AFI. I don't win any of the money, any of the premiums. That shocked me. Just living in LA, trying to pitch this screenplay that everybody loved. I was up for the Walt Disney's special program for women and minorities.
Hmm.
Like, I was always in the room. But I think now, because now now I'm mature and I know better. I think it's my inner. I think it was the social. I don't get social clues. I can't close. I never got a job interview with an American. Never. I usually work for Europeans. They get me, and Americans just don't get me. And I just think they don't know what to do with me because I'm not like anybody else that I know. I mean, my cousins are like me, but we're from Alaska and Oregon. Like, we sound the same, we look the same. I'm even dark skinned for my family. It's like I just think people didn't get it. And in Europe, no one really knew what, and they still don't really, what an American is like. So they disliked me. So anyway, so California, Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland, straight to New York, New York, a loft, and I stayed in New York until 3 days after 9/11. But in the
Hmm.
time between, I guess, 96 and 9/11, I went to Switzerland. Oh, actually, I had a reading. I had a reading at the public theater
Okay.
for the screenplay, and then we did a couple of readings in bars. And there was a fellow who we became friends afterwards, who was an executive at Apple. Apple did not promote this, but liked the screenplay and said, if you can turn it into German,
Hmm.
I can finance it for you in Switzerland. And remember at the beginning of this long talk, you were asking me, but what's it like, all them different languages? How do you
Yeah.
do that on set? Honey, that was a walk in the park for me. Walk in the park. So I get to Switzerland. He did raise the money, and another fellow put in the other half, and it's called Sweetie Cakes. And my on set, my book is on the left hand side, German to English, and on the right hand side, English to German. And there, I had some characters that speak in Italian, and I already know the Italian, so that's fine. And I had everybody have that because to me it was normal. I don't know any different. I never was able to get any money that it wasn't like 5 different countries putting some
Right.
in. And so that's how the feature film Sweetie Cakes got made. And the feature film Sweetie Cakes did great in the independent film festivals, because first of all, nobody does comedies. Like, who does comedies? Everybody was like, some more, kids locked in the cellar, some horror. It was a hard year, and it was my first festival was Cairo.
Oh
The
wow.
Cairo International Film Festival has been big since the 1920s, if not before. Never again that big, because it was 5 days after 9/11. And everybody said, well, you can probably come back next year. And I'm like, I've been in the business my whole life. There is no next year. I haven't made a second film yet, have I? Even though I made CD cakes. So I went Cairo, Japan, India, Australia, Mexico. It never got distribution. Switzerland really didn't get it. It was too broad comedy for them. And we took it to Cannes, and everybody in Switzerland thought that was a premiere, but no, that's where you go to sell your movie. So it got the
Right.
wrong impression, and I don't think the actors wanted to promote it very much because
Hmm.
their feelings were hurt. But they all see it now, and they go, "Oh my God, this really was something." It literally was 20 years ahead of its time. Not saying that I am. The world caught up to me. I'm not ahead of shit, but the world caught up. I'm slow. People would
There's a
like it. It's
couple of
very funny. And
yeah,
it'd be so funny to
and
see all of the old computers and stuff. It's really cute. But it's sexy. It's very, very sexy. And it's about alternative lifestyles. And again, so, I said, oh, I can never do any of them scenes, so I got to rip your clothes off and do something to you. So we talk about everything strange. But again, coming from Europe, I know countries that you can't have any nudity.
hmm.
So you think you see stuff, but you really don't. I did that on purpose. And the one thing you do see, if you look carefully, you might see me. You might see me run back, but it's like 10 seconds. But I knew that because I knew my only chance for distribution is it couldn't be another one of these. And there were so many movies that it was like, I'll make up something. If this is the name of a real movie, I don't mean you, but the horror of Dr. Ghoulie Goo. And then really you get there and they distribute it, and it's the wink wink, it would be adult entertainment.
Hmm.
There was so much of that. Now remember, my epoca is a long epoca ago, but that was very common, and I just wasn't going to do that to anybody. So Switzerland, 9/11, couldn't think where to go, so I went back to California
Gotcha.
after the tour. I had a big loft, I had a 25-year lease. I gave it up, and so I went back to California. And I just do what I do, like call alumni, do stuff, work on shorts. People a lot of times ask me to be a first AD. I tried it, but it's hard. I can't boss people around unless I'm the boss. So that didn't really work because then they would look past me to see if the director was really had my back, but then the director doesn't. This is LA. The director is always so scared of the crew, so that didn't really work for me. So I wrote a lot of scripts. I worked on a lot of scripts, and then And then again, that Sweet Cakes has been so good to me. Now remember, I adapted it to work in Northern Ireland. I adapted it into German. And so at that time, um, the Kardashians was just coming out, and everybody wants to laugh and giggle because most Americans are very non political savvy about some things when it goes in entertainment. Now remember that's the height of Britney. It's the height of the other actress with the red hair that was so good, and Paris Hilton, blonde, red hair. Hollywood is blondie blondie. I'm sorry. Look at me. I'm going to be telling truths over here. A television series with 3 brown-eyed girls that even with the camera on them, they're brown. That was unheard of. So all my friends and remember I had a movie because in India it sold out because in India the cinemas are like 24 hours. It sold out. It sold out for a week. So I got all my Indians, I got all my Italians, I got all my Japanese, I have all my I have my brown-eyed people from around the world, or just anybody that's not brown-eyed, but maybe they were a brunette, and you can't get a movie. So then I knew billionaires, from that genre, and Lost had just come out, and you'd have to really go back. But the first scene, remember because they don't say India, but the actress from India that was the flight attendant. Well, you wouldn't remember, but anyway, she blew up.
Oh, really?
And so I'm a young director. I'm going around. I have a casting person, I have a PR person, and I'm walking red carpet. I'm walking red carpet as the director of Sweetie Cakes because it was known. Who is and I'm fresh back to LA. So who is this black girl? And she looks good on red carpet, and she's got a feature film. And I in Cannes, baby. When I say feature film, I don't mean on my iPhone. I mean that shit's on 35 mil. Cannes. So I was walking red carpet. I was meeting people because I don't have a rich daddy, and I mean a real daddy, like with blood. I don't mean another thing. So I always have known I'm from Italy. You raise your money, you get somebody famous, and that's how you raise your money. So I had that community. Wait a minute. I got that script out, and I shook it up. And so Sweetie Cakes is literally 2 best friends that have a business, and one is wild and one is traditional. That could be black and white. That could be Korean Japanese. That could be tradition Indian girl and her wild best friend that lives in LA. And that's what I did with the help of, and the guy that was helping promote it at the time, we went through this, at all the wordings right, all the thing. And that was at the time that people didn't even know anything about that culture. And the Kardashians, even though they're not from India, but that helped open the door. Nobody was saying, and there were some black films too that had just made it too. So it meant you could be brown and you could have a screenplay that was talking about other brown people because I can't write about LA. I only lived there. But you have to write what you know, unless you're writing for somebody. You tell me what you want me to write and I'll write it because you're telling me the words, right? So anyway, that went on for another 10 years. That script, we shot trailers, we dubbed it. I did an AFI summer seminar where we were using scenes out of it. And then I had another script that, so Sweetie Cakes turned into, I'm going to pronounce it wrong for all of y'all that know the right way, but the title was 4 Weddings and a Shadi. And shadi is their word for a kind of wedding or pre-wedding. And so it was a play on 4 weddings and a funeral. But this was all, so they all have, who's got the crazy boyfriend, who's got the rich boyfriend, who's the traditional, sorry, and who's her friend that's made it really big in LA that bakes cakes. Because it's always cakes. That, oh my goodness. And remember when I was in, I mentioned that I was in Cairo, and my movie was with all those movies at the time that were mixed culture, Bend It Like Beckham, all of those movies that had brown girls from the rest of the world. I was taking meetings all the time. Came close, no cigar, for making a feature. But that's okay too, because I did get to make one. So then I wrote a movie called President Elect. And it was about the first black president. And it was, again, I think I write love triangles all the time, but I didn't realize that till now. So it's two best buddies, and one goes on to be the president-elect, who's African American. The thing where the boy, his best frat buddy from football, because they both played football first. And then the one girl that's sort of in the middle, but nobody, I don't mean in the middle, but their one best friend from back, because the frat boy had a best friend, think Forrest Gumpy, had a best friend
Gotcha.
whose father or uncle or something wasn't helping her, so he helped her. So these are three best friends, right? And the script went around and around and around. Now this is a decade before we have our literal first black president. But think of it kind of like an Obama type, right? And his best buddy from college, right? Because we're not racist. Um, and the note came back. This would have to be in the future because it would never happen now. Really good story, but this must be in the future because it would never happen now.
That's crazy.
I know. So again, and this is a Yoko Ono quote, and I heard it when I was like 16 or 17 because I always was all David Bowie, Lennon, all that, because I knew that there were people, because in Oregon we didn't really mix that much romantically, and I'm talking teen years, right? But I knew that there were people that had black girlfriends, rock stars did, so I knew it wasn't our girls from a different background. So I was always listening to stuff. So I remember Yoko Ono saying, you can't be ahead of your time and you can't be after your time. You just have to wait until you're on time. So I never had a rush. And I think I'm on time now because I'm doing horror. Now we're going to get to when I started writing horror. So, and the other thing is when I was doing all that theater work in New York, so New York is so completely different than Los Angeles. You would never say out loud. Maybe a theater, a little bit like music theater, you could say, I can't wait to be a lead on Broadway, because that's something you can say. That's okay to say. But no actor would say, I want to be a movie star.
Oh, wow.
I can't wait to be famous. Oh my God. You wouldn't even work with anybody again because you don't get into this for fame. There's something about it that you really love. And people go, oh, well, you run out of time to be an actor. No, you might run out of time to be an ingenue. But actors are all ages, all types, all weight, all everything. Just do the work. That's what we used to tell each other, right? As we're working on 50 bucks. Just do the work and create a body of work. So you're so kind and you said, oh, when you look at it, your whole list, it's incredible. Well, yeah, I've been working every year my entire life on something, always, all the time. I was a model. I was a fashion designer, well known, well respected. Sold to some big stores. You have no idea. Then I went to Italy. Then I went, I lived in Germany. I tried to be a pop singer and I was in two bands, but I can't sing. I've had record contracts and they go, well, just hum it. I can't even do that. But what I'm trying to get to is if you just keep doing the work long enough, the time comes. The time comes. And I always wanted to be a writer, and I really wanted to be a director. And probably when I had the opportunity to be a model, I would go, oh, I would never be a model because I was being an actress freaking snob. And I would have loved being a model. I kept acting like I didn't want to be one while I still had a book in the car. You know what I mean? It's like, it takes your whole life to figure it all out. So, yeah, that's it. That's what I always thought. Now, you want to hear, do I have any more time?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So here's the thing. So now remember, I'm a girl at home in Oregon. I'm a big reader. I'm reading the New Yorker. I know I know Dorothy Parker. Dorothy Parker was somebody I looked up to, and something I read, and I could be paraphrasing because remember I was probably 12, and it said how a woman, how you're successful, and I think they probably said by the end of your life, but I probably didn't remember that. But these are or maybe I learned this in New York. I don't know. But these are the things that meant something to me. You're the author of a book. You've been mentioned in a book. You're in the thank yous of a book. And right now I don't remember the other one. There was one more. But if you've done those 4, you've lived a good life. And and you've had books written about you. I think the other one too, probably that one that I was hazy about, number 4, I think quoted and been quoted in a book
Oh,
and have all of those. And I don't mean like, oh, look at me, I have all those. I'm trying to let everyone know it isn't just it isn't just a sitcom, it isn't just a horror movie, it isn't just Broadway, it isn't just off Broadway. It's you. It's just you. And if you just keep doing it, you will always be happy. So I'm not naive. I'm not Pollyanna. I'm not silly. I've gone without food more times than I could tell you. I drive an old car, but I have an amazing life because I'm so blessed that I heard that thing from Dolly Parton. I grew up in theater where we were taught it's about the body of work. So I'm never sad. I'm never disappointed. I went to Sundance more times than anybody who wasn't there, either famous or, without being in one of the programs. Like, I've lived my best life. I'm living my best life because art art is magic. And to be fair, writing is probably one of the few arts that's almost free. And it is free if you'll do it manually. So I hate to sound like
right.
somebody's mama, but I'm just going to tell you they've done brain studies that the signaling from the brain, even if you're just doing your outline, do it by hand and pencil. And if you really can't stand it, go ahead and just type it in one sentence at a time. But because we've been using this in our hand for millennium, so it triggers a part of the brain that's artistic. Okay, that's my old auntie advice. But for all you writers out there, go back and use your hand. You will be shocked.
It's funny because one of the things I ask all the time is like, if you had any advice for people, so you kind of actually went up giving me advice without me having to
Well, please
ask.
please put it in there so I just won't look like I
Oh
know it
no,
all.
absolutely. How did you get into the convention circuits and kind of get back to
I
connection with?
promise you. So I'm living in LA. I'm living the good life. I live in Sherman Oaks. Only 2 neighborhoods down. That's where Michael Jackson. That's where everybody famous lives. And then Britney had a house 2 more neighborhoods down. That's where they all live, right? So I'm living good. Not necessarily living large, largish, right? Largish. And first of all, a guy named David Moore contacted me and he says, I'm doing an anthology. I'm doing a big book on sci-fi and horror. I know all of your work. Can I interview you? And I remember my boyfriend at the time smirking about it. And I go, why would anybody want to interview you? Because remember, I never used to tell anybody. I'd have I never used to tell anybody. Back then, there was Virgin Records and they had a bookstore. Because remember, my 5 goals are being in books in these 5 different
Yeah.
categories. So I would sneak over there to see, am I in anything yet? Am I in anything yet? I'm not kidding. In the genre of horror. So he goes, would he come to interview me? And I think he mentioned, this is when Creation and, oh God, the one in the big horror con in New Jersey, Thriller. And Thriller Theater, they were still, or it's the other one, Fanta something. They were still partners. And he said to me, well, they're doing a big convention at, downtown LA. You should go there. And I was like, oh. So I look it up. And so I call up the organizers and I go, hi, I'm Geretta. Some people know me as Jana. But, I did all these movies in Italy. And I noticed that you have all these Italians coming. Um, so long story short, the person said, well, maybe some other time you could try to get back to us. But if you were known, we would know about you. Click. So then, of course, the boyfriend, you know how it is. Y'all gonna get it. So I go screaming to the boyfriend, see, you didn't believe in me, and these people didn't believe in me, and he goes, hold up. What do we gotta do? And I said, well, I think they set up tables. So long story short, we rented me a table.
Ooh, interesting.
We rented me a table, rented myself. I do no proper English. A table. And I didn't even know, like I'm an actress, I know headshots. But hey, back then we were still printing our own photos, right? With the computer. So I print up 4 by 5 little photos. And then I think we got the gist of it that I needed 8 by 10, 8 by 10s. They give me a table because I paid for it. So they give me a table where there's going to be other people signing, but I'm also next to cosplay stuff. It wasn't really quite cosplay yet. It was more like horror things, people that are selling. But I'm not, I'm not that stupid. I've been to film conventions. I'm not in the room with the vendors, right? So there's
Right.
my table. And so I'm sitting there, and it's prepped. It's before the doors open. I'm sitting there. Jana! Look, because nobody in America knows my Italian nickname. There's Lamberto. There's Dario. There's there's Sergio. Uh, there's Claudio. Look, basically, my entire childhood family comes walking by. The very Italians that I had told these people, I know them. And so Dario's like, "What you doing?" And I said, "I'm setting up my table." And everybody's bachi. They haven't seen me probably in 15 years. A few people, because I cut sweetie cakes in Rome, so people would see me coming in and out. But they hadn't seen me, see me as an actress. And so Dario goes, "Oh, I'm about to do a Q&A. Do you want to be my translator?" And I went, "Sure." And so he said, "How come you're just sitting over here with this little table?" And I said, "They said they don't." Basta me, stop. "Yes, Mr. Argento. Yeah, okay." Suddenly, I'm doing all the translations for everybody. Because they had someone, but he had a different style. The producer, the director, Lamberto, would say something in his ear. He would translate it, and then he would whisper. He would say it out to the audience. This made it take forever. And then also, I'm exactly this. This is my real personality. So if somebody said, "Well, what about demons, Lamberto and Dario? I mean, did it take a long time?" I'm making this up. Did it take a long time? And let's just say, like to wind me up, because they know they're directors. They say, "Oh my God," they would say something like, "Oh, if it wasn't for all these actors taking so long," and me, I would jump right out of character. And I'm like, "What are you talking about? We never." And, oh my God, people loved it, because the back and forth between us and the crowd and the whole thing. Okay, I'm getting there. So there's the Beverly Cinema, which is the what does Tarantino call that? The old movie, Roundhouse movie. No,
Grindhouse.
Grindhouse, which is the Grindhouse Cinema, because they only show Grindhouse, right? So there was a guy, Brian J. Quinn, and he is the program. I don't know if he still is, but he is the program director and the runner of the Beverly Cinema Theater. That is a big deal. They show movies all the time. That is a big deal. I don't know him. I'm sipping drinks in the cocktail in Sherman Oaks with my boyfriend. We were together for 10 years, so it's the real story. With my boyfriend, I'm not even in the industry anymore. I'm writing, so I can go to Sundance every year. But boom, boom, boom. So Brian comes up and he goes, "I know you've never heard of me, but I've got this cinema, and would you be interested to do a Q&A if I did it?" And so, if I announce it, and I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? I'm an actress. Why not?" Like 3 hours later, sold out.
Wow.
Sold out. Now, I don't know if Dario came that time, but he might not have, because Lamberto and Dario, they try not to both be at the same place at the same time, because it divides it up. Um, if a fan can't make it that day, then they don't get to see. You know what I mean? So they
Yeah.
usually, and I think that's kind of like one of the last times that they were both together. But there's a reason why, because then the fans can't see everybody, and then it
Right.
makes the show extremely expensive for people. Whatever. So it was Claudio, Lamberto, me. I'm gonna say it was Bobby Rhodes there. No, Bobby and I, we did Chiller at the cinema. They showed two horror movies back to back. They don't even remember. That's how. Later, my phone started ringing, and I had this great agent. His name's going to come to me in a minute, because he doesn't do it anymore. That's only Mike Barones. Mike
Mm.
Barones called me. He reps everybody. He used to rep everybody really, really big. And I moved to Costa Rica eventually, so there was a bit of a fallout, because I couldn't come back and forth, and just got complicated. But not with him, but for the bookers. But that was it. "I know you don't know me. Would you take a chance on me? I'd like to rep you." And that's how I got in the game. And I've been doing it. And that was 2020. You know, I do UK, I do Germany. I do them all the time. I do them all the time.
And
That's how.
so I could, well, and so this is one of the reasons why I don't want to ask you too many things because people can come and see you or people can go on your.
Yeah, but the fans that know me, first of all, they talk to me all day on all the socials. But the people, I've been on the circuit a good minute, so people know that. And I did a fan thing with you. People know, and as you know, I go off on tangents. There's always new info. There's always something somebody asks me. I'm very fan. I'm very pro
Fan
fan.
friendly,
Yeah, I'm
man.
fan friendly because I used to be a fan. I went all the way to Italy, man, and I didn't even get into school. And back then, you could fly on a one-way ticket. I went all the way to Ireland because I admired the films being made. Like, don't make me start to cry because my mascara's gonna run. I'm a fan. I am the worst. I've met so many of my idols. I've had people come up to me, try to flirt with me, and I'm like, I'm the worst. I don't even, I just melt. I'm the worst. So I love my fans, and I talk to them, and I do stuff. And, I keep my merch rather reasonable. But I'm sorry, y'all, the prices in the pictures finally had to go up because I got bills to pay too. But,
Well, and that's kind of one of the questions I had is for people who are looking for you because you have some of the coolest things that I have
oh,
found, which is
thank you.
the little demon heads and all.
Oh, yeah.
And so, how did you come up with those? Like, did those something that you just because you've designed stuff in the past? Like, did you just go, I want to make these little things, or was that somebody else, or how did you figure those out?
Well, the mask is a real thing.
Right.
And Sergio Stiviletti is the designer of those, and he sells them in
Hmm.
silver and bronze. And he has a silver necklace. And so, that's his lane, and I never wanted to walk in his lane. But there's a lot of fans that would love a mask, and they can't afford it. And even the ones that are really, really good, they're still that aren't from him. They're still a couple $100.
Hmm.
So, like, I wear to now, I'm the only person I'm promoting. Why don't I have my own necklace? I'm crazy. I'm showing you have a broken heart. So I just thought I could probably figure out how to make a mold. And I had a friend that has the machine at home, so we did the mold. I've always been into graphics. I draw my own storyboards, not as much as I used to because now they have to almost be a perfect movie. But Yeah, so I did mask, and then things like other people. I have so many people that make things for me. Like, if you look me up and look for a lipstick, there's the people that made tattoo lipstick. I hope I can do this. Hold on. So from that first show in California, 2020, Cult Collectibles, Mark Murray and his partner, Amanda Murray, Miranda Murray, made this, the Demon Doll. There was only, and he's the guy that he's done Fulci, he's done so many. If I can open it, I'll show you. No, I can't. This is one that can't be opened, but it's this. So from that, we started to think people like the mask. Oh, I'm sorry. People like the mask. So when you got this from me, and there's only 1,000 ever made, and I think this one doesn't have the number on it, but this one is probably 12 or something like that. So when you got the mask, you got me, the bottle, and I moved, and you get the mask. So over the years, people would always ask me, "Is there a mask? Is there a mask?" So I started making them. So we interrupted this program to bring you a word from our sponsor, me. So we were talking about, yeah. So I started designing so people could have demon dolls. And so we have them in black. We have Rosemary's. And we have it glows in the dark. So we do
Yeah.
that. And then I have so many things. And the t-shirts and stickers. And the biggest thing that I'm making right now is a feature film. So you've all heard about it. You've been hearing it over the years, and we didn't make it up. It's always greenlit, but you know, something happens, and then hold on, and finances dry up, and they don't, and then they come back. But it's really happening, and the movie's really happening, and it's somewhat different than what it was before, and you're all gonna love it. It's the spirit of it, and it's completely new. So it's got something for everybody who's waiting to see certain things will be happy. For people who've never even heard of the movie or me or the franchise, even though now I'm sweating. Look at me. So yeah, so that's what I'm working on now, and I do all of the festivals. I'm doing one in the UK in a couple months, and I'm doing a really big one in August. And I'm on Instagram all the time. You can always contact me directly there for any kind of merch, or just come by and say hi. But mostly, I'm moving over to Blue Sky, so I'm always Geretta Geretta, and it might say Geretta Geretta something dot Blue Sky. But it's always me. You can always find me. Geretta. Geretta.
Awesome.
And I'm always making stuff because I have so many artistic people. Oh my goodness, cups, candle holders. Oh, during the pandemic, we had the Demon's Mask. I have lots of stuff.
Yeah, and then you have if people are looking for it, your shop is. Can they find it like if you're on the Instagram? Does it have a link to it?
I have a store, but people were having difficulty clicking through. But if you go to Instagram and you write me and just say, I'd like a t-shirt, or I'd like a demon doll, or can you show me your new stuff? Then I can take you directly to my private store. Because what happens is people always say they're going to order something, and then I talk to them. Hey, listen, I've been there. I get it. But then they don't follow through. So I love to talk to you, but then this way you can just be looking at the stuff. And then you just buy it whenever you want, because we're fine. I'm good. I bought a house. I'm safe.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have you back whenever we have some more info on the film that you're working on, which hopefully is sooner rather than later. Gonna bug him. But yeah, it should be very fun, and there's a lot of cool things happening. And like I said, your merch, anytime you have a table set up, it's one of those ones that actually takes a lot of your eye, because it's like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
And
posters, things you've never seen, and I'm working on finding some of the original scripts that I can make copies of. I'm not giving you an original script, but I can make copies of, so you can really see. You can really see what that was like, and then I'll sign them, and I do that kind of stuff. So yeah, and anyone, if you just want to contact me and find out what's up, I'm on Instagram. I'm on that mostly. I'm not on the other things, and then I'm going to be getting off of that. But come visit me on Blue Sky. Come, I don't
yeah,
care. I don't care. I'm not going to be doing any political talk on there. But if you want to know what I'm really thinking, in case you
yeah,
couldn't guess, I'm still on Insta, taking my chances.
awesome. But I appreciate you coming out today, and
Oh God, John, I
there's
appreciate you. Hey everybody,
yeah,
y'all probably already know him because you follow all of his stuff, but he is a somewhat new acquaintance of mine, and just adore this bro. Just adore him. Very professional, very good, really gets film, and more importantly, one of the few people that understands talent. In front of the camera, behind the camera, some of us that have to raise money. So I'm in good company, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for interviewing me, John.
no, thank you for joining us, and yeah, we'll have you guys. I could talk to you about 4 or 5 hours about stuff,
I
and I
know we always
appreciate you.
do when we do.
Yes, unfortunately.
I like you
Thank you so
so
much,
much.
Geretta.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank you.
Timecode Dead Air.